The Game Boy SP is possibly one of the greatest original Game Boys out there. Before they went with the dual screen design, they actually brought out a clamshell Game Boy. This was able to play Game Boy Color games as well as the original Game Boy games as well as the new Game Boy Advance games. Released in 2003, this thing was basically a mini SNES. One of the downfalls that it has in today's gaming age is the fact that you need a proprietary charging cable to charge this thing, as well as the screen. Although being backlit and going in the right direction, it still wasn't the greatest thing out there. So today on the channel, we're going to be modding a Game Boy SP. We're going to be updating the screen and actually putting a USB-C charging port in there. And this thing kind of scares me, so let's see how we get on. So first thing we're going to need is a Game Boy, a screen, a shell, some buttons, some tweezers, some screwdrivers, some soldering wick, and some solder. And these are all the bits that I had to get to make this build. So we start off by disassembling the Game Boy SP. We remove the back cover and it's just one little screw, remove the battery, and then there are these 4 points around the edges of the Game Boy SP. There is another screw hiding underneath the battery, and then there is one above the game cartridge slot. Then you can lift off the back plate and there will be 3 screws under there that we'll need to remove to be able to take off the motherboard. Then you're able to remove the motherboard, but you've got to be super careful and lift it up like this because the screen cable, ribbon cable under there is still attached, so you just remove that. Then I thought, as this thing's about 20 years old, we'll give it a little clean with some isopropyl alcohol and a toothbrush. I'm just going over the main parts of the board, making sure to get rid of any grime or grubbiness that may be hiding underneath the shell because this thing has been open for a very long time. Then I decided it would be a good idea to go straight in and do the USB-C mod. So to do this, it was just a case of desoldering the current AC port that was in place. And this is where the soldering braid comes in handy because this will remove all the solder that was currently there. I did try and capture most of this on camera, however, it was very intricate and there was a lot of parts to it, so I ended up having to cut most of that out because my head was in the way. Now we get out the new shell and all the bits for it. I had to reassemble one of the triggers on the left hand side because it had come loose, so it was just a little wire that I had to feed back through and clip it, and it was quite a fiddly job, and this is where the tweezers came in handy, so that was quite good, but it all turned out absolutely great. Then I placed the motherboard back into the shell, and I needed to make sure that the little switches and all worked first off because believe me, I've had plenty of times where I've gone to do that and I've had to disassemble the entire thing. Then I had to pull out the old Game Boy just to remove some of the screws for the new screen to be in place because I reused a lot of the screws that I already had. I also needed the hinges because I didn't buy new hinges, which was a bit of a pain in the backside. This took me a long time to figure out and get because you have to angle it at a certain angle and it didn't really play nice with the new shell. Then I went and installed the new screen. This was a pretty straightforward install because the screen was already cut to size and it was just a case of feeding it through the wires and making sure that all worked. Then I just basically put everything in reverse and had to screw everything back in, and I was just being extra careful when I was screwing in the screen because I didn't want to put too much pressure on there. Then I applied the rubbers to make sure that the screen would not be touching the board. And then I started to put all the buttons that I had got in place. The one thing I do actually like about Game Boys is everything is fit purposely for the Game Boy. The buttons are actually molded in a certain way so they'll only fit in a specific part of the Game Boy. And then this was basically just the reverse of what I had done. So I put the back plate on there, made sure everything was connected. Made sure the battery was in place. And everything was screwed in before I tested the Game Boy out. And everything seemed to work as I expected it to work. However, there was one little problem with this Game Boy SP. So there we go. The mod is done. The USB-C mod is installed. And the backlit screen looks absolutely incredible. But one of the downfalls of this is this. There is actually no sound coming from this device, and I'm not entirely sure why. I recently bought an adapter for the back as well, and it works with headphones, so I'm not entirely sure what's going on. Whether this USB-C mod has sort of, I don't know, interrupted the channel coming from the actual speaker itself, I don't know. If any of you guys out there know what I'm missing, what I should be doing to get this thing fully functional, please let me know. But I am super happy with how this looks. How this has turned out is incredible, and this is definitely going to be my preferred way to play Game Boy Advance games now. So apart from the speaker not working, that is the only downside to this mod, but I am super happy. It looks really clean, it looks really good. So guys, let me know what you think. Is this thing any good? Would you be doing this mod? I'm not gonna lie, I panicked big time installing this, but it works great, it charges great, and I am really happy with the outcome. It's just the sound, but I can use headphones for the time being. But if you do know, please let me know down in the description below. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please help me grow and Graham grow this channel, because we really want to sort of see more growth. And there's a lot of people watching our videos that are not subscribed. So if you could do that, that'd be absolutely great. And thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.